it's like medicine for when we are in our own heads, when we are really in those stories and we think, well, this is it. I'm screwed. My life is really hard. Like, I'm never going to get past this. And, we know all the things that we should do, but we aren't doing it. And then there's all the stories on top of that. NLP just cuts through the noise and it's like, okay, let's get into the wiring of the thing and let's, just like make a little tweak. What it does is I think of like dissolving that neural pathway of the association that we're making to the problem of it being really hard and the beliefs and the stories and the decisions. And when we let go and we step into something more intentional that we want to create, it helps us glide through life a little bit more easily instead of feeling so bogged down. And I think that this is a really beautiful solution. It can be like a breath of fresh air when we're spinning around in our own heads, when we're spinning out, creating a lot of extra energy around something.
I'm Bianca Leamora, and this is Help Me See. This podcast is devoted to the itch you cannot scratch, that fire in your belly, and the forever quest of seeing the deeper meaning of this life we're living. We meet at the intersection of art, self-discovery, beauty, pain, memory, nostalgia, and consciousness. Yeah, it's a pretty busy intersection. I believe your photographic practice is a portal of presence and revelation that connects it all. I'm a photographic artist myself, an NLP coach, a mama, an HSP, an introvert, a dog-obsessed person with an unquenchable thirst for vision and not missing my life. This podcast is for the conscious creators in life and art and business. The conversations we have here are committed to honoring the wholeness of life and exploring how to bridge that gap between your distinct vision and your intentional life. We use photographic practice to light the way, whether or not you consider yourself a professional. I hope this podcast feels like a safe place to land and feel less alone, a place to get wildly inspired, and most of all, a place that always reminds you of your own distinct personal power. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Help Me See. We have a guest today. Today we have on the show the gorgeous, brilliant Jerrica Norton. She is a life coach focusing on soulful empowerment for women. And I met her in my certification course for neuro-linguistic programming. We really clicked and we've kept in touch as we both dive deep into the waters of practicing this modality. And I thought it would be awesome to have her on the show to have a really candid talk about NLP in general and what the fuck is it and what does it mean and how has it helped her? How has it helped me? So it's just a really casual, candid conversation about this new modality that we're both really passionate about. It's funny. I've been doing a lot of these sessions and I've had such amazing feedback and powerful breakthroughs occur. But I had this one opportunity for feedback, which was so crucial. And I'm so grateful that it happened. I was doing a third session with someone, a client/student of mine that I deeply, deeply adore. And she's like, in all honesty, I feel like I had this big breakthrough and then it's like, I don't really know where to go from here. Like, I don't really have a plan or, what to do about it almost. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing this. I mean, for multiple reasons. One, it gave me an understanding of how I could do a better job setting the stage for what you might be able to expect in this experience. And two, it gave me the idea of like, oh, I would love to dig into this with you. And I wasn't seeing that, that gateway, because with the NLP process, it's more about, it's not more, it is about being able to connect to what is running in the background subconsciously, bringing out, looking at it, deciding, is this resourceful? Like, is this what I actually want? and making an intentional decision and then put it back and then living from there. The fact that there is nothing to do necessarily, and it's it's not like the rest you woke up to a new life in a sense, to me solidifies how enduring and sustainable this work is. The point of it is not to become a different person overnight. The point of it is that when you're able to make these intentional decisions on a neurological level, neural pathway level, and then you just go about your life, you're acting from that place. And then sure enough, as I start talking about that, she's like, "Oh, yeah, about 20 minutes before this call, I XYZ, and I would have never done that before. And that's something new for me. I think that's it." I'm like, "Yeah, I think that's it." So really, I thought that was a really great story to bring up. As we preface this episode that is all about NLP with Jerrica, because I think way too often, so many resources and people and offerings are touting, this will change everything. This is the way. It's the way. And every time it's so tempting. It's so tempting. But everything about that is leading you to believe that the answers are outside of yourself. These NLP processes are here to work specifically with you to go inward, find out what the fuck is going on under the surface, under that iceberg, deep down in those dark waters, and then make a conscious decision about it and then put it back. And the rest of your life will be lived from that space until something else shifts and you decide you want to, dive more into this and XYZ. So anyway, that felt like an even more deeply solidifying um, anchor in this work is that it was so natural that she didn't even really notice the difference until that reflection of like, oh, wait a minute. That's actually exactly what the breakthrough was about. And I don't think I would have done that before. Like, perfect. That's perfect. Because that means it's like, it's there. It wasn't something that you did in a moment of intense deliberation and fear, but you did it anyway. It was way less sexy than that in that sense, but more sexy in the sense that that means it's like, yeah, no big deal. That's just how I be. That's just how I live. Um, so anyway, all that to say, so my NLP breakthrough offer that I have, if you click the link in the show notes, I have added a part 3 for a limited time and testing the waters to see how it goes, a part 3 bonus strategy session. So after you have the breakthrough and you live through and live with the changes, then we come back together after some time and see if there's any way I can support you or help you put a little bit more deliberate action into it if that's something that you so choose or crave. Also, Jerrica, who's on the show, is also offering NLP breakthrough sessions as well. And you can find all of her info and you can find her on Instagram in the show notes there. Yeah, I hope you enjoy hearing our banter about this new modality that we're in. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. And that's what I got for you today. Trying to think if there's any personal asides that I have to share. I feel like there's been so much. My son is home this week. I wanted to give him a little bit of space, like with his transition to a new school, and damn, I'm humbled. I love him, and also, oh my nervous system, oh my goodness, with the two boys, all day It's hard. It's really, really hard. Um, and as I'm sitting here thinking about this, I'm like, oh, maybe I should do some NLP work on myself around this and get back to you with that. It's really easy to spend so much time doing this work with other people and then forgetting to do it with yourself. But anyway, just know that if you are a stay-at-home mom, if you, I mean, any person that is caring for any soul, with you. I'm with you. This is really hard. It's really hard. I feel so lucky and also so wildly frustrated. And like, I want more space, but then I don't want more space. And then I want to snuggle them, but then I don't want to be touched. And so I just needed to get that out here because that's the type of day I've had. I I was like growling and wanting to rip out of my body this morning, and now it's better. It's just a really intense roller coaster, and um, I needed to voice that out loud in case anyone else listening feels like they're losing it. I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with my dear, dear, beautiful friend Jerrica. And any information that you could desire from this talk can be found in the show notes. Enjoy. Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Help Me See. Today we have a very special guest. We have Jerrica Norton on. She is a life coach who helps women live aligned lives that turn them on from the inside out. I love that. And Jerrica and I share our common love for NLP. We just went through our NLP certification together, and that's how we met. And now we geek out about it all the time. And I wanted to have Jerrica on and just talk about this new world that we seem to be a part of. Hello, Jerrica. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. I want to talk about NLP because, well, one, it's like my new favorite thing.
I know. Obsessed.
I'm obsessed. And I see it in everything. But two, it just, yeah, I just want to talk about it in general. And, I don't know that I know this about you. Like, how did you find your way to this NLP certification, to NLP in general, to our coach, Haley, who taught us it? Tell me a little bit of how you got here.
Yeah. So I actually became interested in NLP years ago, probably about five or 6 years ago. And it was a modality that one of my first coaches ever, what she worked with. And I didn't fully understand it, but I knew that she was working with the subconscious mind. I knew that, I knew that it felt very elegant. I knew that it felt very, non-aggressive, I'll say. And I loved it. I just always had an interest after working with that coach in NLP. I randomly bought a book one time and, do some Google searches and was looking up, NLP courses and, but kind of had it floating on the outskirts of my interest. Cause when I would go out and try and search for it, on Google or just through books and, Amazon and stuff like that, I wasn't feeling the same resonance that I felt working with that coach. I thought just the way that it was being shown or the things that I was coming across in my search, I was kind of like, that's not the same vibe. It didn't have this feminine vibe that I really liked or that I associated with this modality. And so it kind of went on the shelf for a while. And then eventually I did find my way to Haley via a post that somebody shared on Instagram. And made my way to her super abundant course. And I did that course first with her. And then she started launching her NLP certification program. And I pretty instantly knew, I was like, oh my God, like this is the one. But I waited another year. And then the following year is when I did join the program, and it just, everything lined up. So it was pretty easy for me to say yes and join. And I actually wrote this out recently, and I was writing a testimonial for Haley. I was like, I'm so glad that nothing else resonated with me over the 4 or 5, however many years I'd known that I wanted to do NLP. I was so glad that I waited, and just things worked out so that I ended up in that specific course. So I think a lot of people who took the course, I think a lot of them didn't necessarily know about NLP for a long time beforehand. Whereas for me, I knew I wanted to do an NLP course for like years. So, and I've always enjoyed learning about the subconscious mind, and just knew that it's a really important aspect when it comes to the experience of personal transformation, is to work with the subconscious mind, and finding a tool that would help me do that in a really beautiful, feminine, nourishing way was really important to me.
So tell me about the distinction around what you said, non-aggressive. Like, what did that mean to you? Because a lot of times I feel like when people hear, we work with your subconscious mind, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
They're like, hey, now. Don't touch my subconscious.
Like, it's just not aggressive. And they're like, that's very aggressive. What is your feeling around what your thoughts around that?
Yeah. That's so funny to think about. That is true. I think like we get so used to it. It's like we live in this world now. Like we know about it. We're used to it. We love it. But it is important to remember that maybe somebody else is like, hey, like, don't be touching my subconscious. Blocking themselves. Because maybe it feels, vulnerable, or maybe worried about, what that might mean. So to your question about asking about it not being non-aggressive, that's really become a pretty big pillar in my, I guess you could call it mission or vision, but like what I want to bring to the coaching space and to my coaching, it's something that's really important, because, I think this is also another reason why I had to go through a journey to find my way to learning NLP in a certain way. And so in those 4 or 5 years, like I've worked with a lot of coaches, done, programs, invested a lot of money. And some of the experiences I had were based on just this very aggressive, kind of pushy, efforting way of transformation, like just really intense. Like this phrase, like massive, if you want to make massive change, you've got to take massive action, right? Like this. And so I spent a lot of my transformational journey being stressed out and trying to push myself to be different than how I actually was, and not honoring my nature. And it just felt very aggressive. It felt hard. My nervous system was shot, and then I also had all these stories running about my self-worth and who I thought I had to be, and thinking that I wasn't enough or that I wasn't doing enough, blah, blah, blah. And so I see this as something that the transformational personal development space really needs. And it's something that I needed, which is an approach that is nourishing, that has a way of just working with our sense of self and how we perceive the world. And then the change starts to happen as a natural flow from that place. You just work on yourself from the place of being, and then you just be it. And so that's what this modality helps us do. We work with the subconscious so that you don't even have to think about the good habits, and you don't even have to think about the things that you're manifesting. Like, of course, there's an intentionality behind it, but you're not pushing or forcing anything. When you've got your subconscious working in coherence with what it is that you want to do or create, there's no, you eliminate the resistance and you just get to act in your true nature. And then the things happen because it's just who you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I know, totally. It's so exciting to talk about and to think about how it works. And I have to say, I think my absolute, and you touched on this as you were just talking, but like my absolute favorite part of NLP is like the fact that it always, 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 always implies you're like, it's always deferring to literally the person, the client, whoever it is that is doing the processes. Like, I think that in my journey through and around like different courses and different coaching and different whatever is not realizing that anyone that was offering me a formula of sorts was only making me detour more severely. And now it's so clear to me that like anyone that's redirecting me back to myself through my questioning is a right fit. And NLP is inherent in that. Like that is all it does, is like always redirects you back to yourself. So I find that to be super, super empowering. And yeah, what would you say is some of the biggest breakthroughs that you've had like with the work yourself?
Well, I think the biggest breakthrough that I got was that, well, it's a combination. The breakthrough came through learning the modality of NLP. So just by learning the tools as a coach, but then also going through and doing the processes and just continually realizing that like that I am enough, that I can be myself and that I can have, the things that I desire, which is so, as I started realizing that and, had that breakthrough and then like have continuously been having that same like realization over and over, it's really created a deep sense of like relaxation in my nervous system. Of just, and I think that like you were saying, like when we do use these tools and use these processes and use these questions and the answers come from inside ourselves, it's just reinforcing that belief, that story that like I am enough, I am powerful, I do have everything that I need. And it's all already there. And sometimes we just need some help to like see it. And that's literally it.
That's literally it. Yeah. I liken it so much to it's just like it's a parallel to what I do in my creative work. And every single time we were having a lesson on something and like learning something deeper, and I'm like, yep, another thread, another thread, another thread. What I love that Haley had said while she was teaching it is how NLP just puts a name to what we're already doing. Like we all already know this stuff. We just don't have labels for it and a structure to understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. I really love that too. And it's so cool to now that we do have the labels and we do understand it, it's so cool to notice it and to see how it happens and see how it is woven into our everyday life, and being able to, I think that's part of why it makes it so elegant as well. It's just language. It's just words. It's just working with the nervous system. It's just, working with the senses, and it's nothing. I think, part of like what I've been saying around like non-aggressive is just like, there's no like huge flashbang, like lightning bolt. It's just like, it could be just a conversation. And then suddenly, something you'd been carrying for so long or thought that there was a lot of weight around, or you thought that was like really holding you back in this huge monumental thing, suddenly that dissolves, and now there's space for a new possibility, for a new awareness, a new perception. Um, and I just love that. I love that. Just like being able to just have a conversation and bring that about. Um,
Yeah, but something that I love about this, so just really quickly, for reference, if you don't know, uh, usually the way that I've been formatting my breakthrough sessions is we'll have like a part one, which is a deep personal history questionnaire. And it's just a bunch of questions, asking a bunch of questions. And then I'll go away and look through all of the processes available and understand the underlying structure, like I call it like the iceberg effect type of thing, and of the issue at hand, and then curate a breakthrough. But what's so cool that you were just referring to, Jerrica, is the idea that sometimes there are very formal processes and scripts and visualizations that go into it, and sometimes it's quantum linguistics. It's just a simple, powerfully articulated question. So there's no right way to do it, which is also what was so I think so difficult, like such a learning curve in learning the material is like, wait a minute, there's such specific language, it's very specific, and there are scripts and processes, but also there's no right way, huh? And Haley was so right. It's just like you just have to keep rolling around with it in order to really understand how seamless it can be and how you can really make it your own. And yeah. What has been your experience like with people, with clients doing this work? What has been the response for you?
it's been really great. Yeah, I'm still kind of getting my feet wet with it, and the clients I've had so far, I think that they just appreciate how easy it is, and I think that my favorite, I told you I did a breakthrough with one of my good friends, and it actually it was really cool because I ended up doing a sort of informal process conversationally because I told you, like, I couldn't find it in the book. I was like, well, I'm just going off of memory. And so he was talking, he said something, and I just kind of trusted myself, and it felt kind of messy to me, but it was like a really powerful breakthrough for him. And there were tears in his eyes. And this, what I'm gathering, and for myself, of course, is just the experience of this knowing, like coming from within your own self, is it brings about a sense of wholeness, um, a sense of wholeness, and yeah, which is so different than somebody just telling you like what you need to do, and just another person like telling you what you need to do or what you should do, and what if you just did this, it would solve all your problems. And versus when somebody can help guide you either through a formal process or just a quantum linguistics conversation, um, there's that tapping into that inner knowing and that inner trust. Yeah.
That
So
bit,
it's been
isn't
really
it?
profound.
It's like that what you just said, it's this like idea of reaching that feeling of wholeness is it gives so much peace. And it's not even that, and the wholeness for me at least, like it doesn't mean that nothing is wrong. It doesn't mean that everything's like peaches and rainbows, but like it's so scary and overwhelming to feel like everything is so ambiguous and complex and nothing makes sense to you in your body. Not even forget about logically, but like even just in your senses. Like I don't understand what's going on with me. When you feel like a mystery to yourself, I feel like it's a scary place to be. But NLP offers a very simple, powerful, um, knowing in that like there's a strategy for everything, and an emotion is an emotion is an emotion, no matter how big or small it may be. And that's how it treats everything. And just coming from there, coming from that place, uh, in my experience, it helps me to right size situations quicker, to like go into my problem solving or understanding or processing or whatever of whatever I'm in from a place that feels like I'm not coming from a 12 out of 10. Maybe I'm coming from on a pretty gnarly day, a 6 out of 10. I'm just not in that same state of panic because I already have this like foundational understanding that like, okay, it can, this this can be helped. There's something that makes sense under this. It's actually quite simple. I just need to like be able to extract myself from it and think about it differently, carve that new neural pathway.
Yeah. 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 I really feel that too. And I love that too. And yeah, I think that's actually a good thing to talk about because right now in the world of personal development and and transformation, like word's getting out, like we're all kind of like on Instagram talking about our we're up leveling, we're changing, we're growing, we're realizing our power. And so it's something that I feel like NLP really like cuts through, just kind of how's that can start to pile on, like needing to label every single thing as like uh it it can be helpful too, but I think that sometimes we can get really wrapped up in the stories of the thing, and
Yep.
NLP is just looking for the unconscious pattern underneath. And it's very like structural, it's very objective, and it's really based on, at least, or maybe this is kind of me coloring it with my own perception of like there's always a solution. But something I know that I see, and I have seen with some of my clients so far, can be this spiral into the stories of the thing, and like, oh, I have this, I have a wound, I have a wound from my childhood or something, and it's so deep and it's so heavy, and it's there can be a lot of story around how difficult it could be to let it go. And I completely, understand. And I have stuff like that too. But that's why I love NLP for myself and for what I can bring to clients, because, um, it's like we have a way to really simplify something, as long as we're willing to let go of like how complicated we think that we are, how heavy we think that something is. If we're willing to let that go and, are willing to let it be a simple shift, a simple release, um, I think it's like medicine for when we are in our own heads, when we are really in those stories and we think like, well, this is it. Like, I'm screwed. My life is really hard. Like, I'm never going to get past this. And, we know all the things that we should do, but we aren't doing it. And then there's all the stories on top of that. NLP just like cuts through the noise, and it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's get in, let's get into the wiring of the thing, let's get into the wiring of the thing, and let's, just like make a little tweak.
Mm-hmm.
And, and of course, like it doesn't solve every single issue ever, but
Yeah.
what it does is it just I think of like dissolving that neural pathway of the association that we're making to the problem of it being really hard, and the beliefs and the stories and the decisions. And when we let go it and we step into something more intentional that we want to create, it's like just makes life, it helps us glide through life a little bit more easily, instead of feeling so bogged down. And I think that, yeah, this is a really beautiful solution for anyone who is feeling that like, oh, they're quote unquote so messed up or have so many problems, and they just think they're too much, or think that, I'm starting to notice people who think that they're broken in some way. And it's like, nope. And just like, nope, you're not.
I reject that notion.
No. And it's just like, it's a really solution based modality instead of necessarily digging and digging and digging for problems. We're just kind of, just very simple, very objective, and it can be like such a breath of fresh air when we're spinning around in our own heads, when we're spinning out, or creating a lot of extra energy around something. It can just,
I think that it's given me the ability to, well, one of the things that you look for, like when you're doing a breakthrough, is a change in like the charge that you feel around something that was talked about. So even though, like, you touched on this too, about how it's not like it's a magic potion, it doesn't just like all problems go away, but like it feels so much more different. It feels lighter. It feels like it's let the air out. There's less charge around it. And I really believe, like, I equate that to the witnessing of it. Like, you're able to witness it differently. When I talk about photographs, I think about how you can see a photograph for however many years and see one thing, and then you had learned something new. I don't know, a family dynamic, you went through something in your life, whatever, you look at that same photograph and you see it differently. And I really feel like that's what NLP offers, is that it just gives you a different lens, a new ability to witness something. So, for me, one of my biggest breakthroughs I had with it was when I kind of recognized that this thing, like my life fear of everything, that I thought that I was just like being shackled to and weighed down. It's, it might seem obvious outside, but that's the problem. Like, it's not obvious when it's your own shit. I was holding on to it for dear life. For me, I didn't realize that fear meant love. Like, oh, if I'm horrified of every single situation and I'm worried about everything that could go wrong, that means that I really love you. And that means that I'm, because that's just what I learned, and blah, 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 blah. But now it's not that like, oh, I'm bungee jumping all of a sudden, but also I am so much quicker to see it when it's activated in me. Like, oh, okay. Like, okay. All right. I get what's going on there. And it really doesn't have the chance to snowball the way it always did. Which is huge. And that's another thing too, is that's why when you said it's like not like when bam, boom, fireworks are happening, here's a huge breakthrough, like, and it can feel so understated, but like especially when you have like a journaling practice or like some sort of review practice with yourself, and you look back, you're like, oh, that is really not holding me back the way it used to anymore. That's massive, and that's elegant, and that's really sustainable long-term change.
Yeah, I love how you use such beautiful analogies with photography with NLP. I so appreciate that. Just like you say, like seeing a photograph and then your perception changes and you see it in a new light and it changes. And I love too about how you're pointing out, it's like when you are checking in with yourself and kind of paying attention, you notice that, things do change over time. And, I've been thinking of this phrase of the subtle is sexy. And I'm probably going to make a post about that now. I say the subtle is sexy. Subtle shifts are sexy, and they're the most empowering, because we love, we might love the energy of like you go to an experience, or which I've done. I've gone to like, big like workshops, like there's a stage and there's lights and there's music and there's, like really hyped up, like everybody's hands in the air, and it felt so good. I've also worked with coaches who had like really powerful, beautiful, like amazing energy. And then I would get really hyped up and be like, okay, yeah, like I'm going to go home. I'm going to do this. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to make $1 million. And then and then it didn't really happen like that. And, those experiences are beautiful and they're amazing. And I'll totally, go to more. And as far as like, just, I'm really interested in living like this beautiful unfolding life of continuous greatness, of continuous like alignment with my soul in the way that I'm living and the way that I'm creative and creativity and inspiration. And so, I'm just really falling in love with this experience of subtle shifts over time and the way that things build and paying attention and noticing, as things fall away, how new decisions come to light and how we really open up to our true authentic inner guidance for where our life takes us. And that's something that I love about NLP, because it really works with you. And again, it just helps you when you are living from your true nature. Everything is so much more fulfilling.
Well, we must pause there. When you are living from your true nature, everything is so much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
But I think that the tricky part there is it requires us to pause long enough to even understand what our true nature is and what like serves us best. And we always know, but I think that it's just so noisy and it's so easy to just keep going. And what you're saying is so beautiful, and it really requires patience. And what now, obviously more than ever in current day, but like it's the attention spans. I am not excluding myself. Like it's harder and harder and harder to do that. And I think that requires a great, and that is the long game, right? That is the most enduring, timeless. That's the good stuff. But how do we continue to make space for that unfolding? But I find that I'm getting better about that too. Like even just recently I launched a course and it felt so different because I really had no urgency around it in the sense of like, I wasn't attached to any outcome because I was like, there is no way this can be any more congruent with me than it is. Like, I just felt like if you are or are not interested, that is actually not my business. And whoever decides to join me, that's wonderful. Whoever doesn't, that's wonderful. It is what it is. And it's like kind of weird because I think when you get to that point, like sometimes you can feel a little bit like, am I like losing my marbles? Like, I'm like so calm about this. I'm not, and that's another thing here. I was just going to say, I'm not a calm person. It's like you become so married to these stories and this versions of your identity for so long, and that's actually one of the reasons why it can be hard to let it go, because you're like, if I let this go, what does that mean about the last 20 years of my life that I believe this about myself? And that's another part of it. But yeah, I went, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel that about like, attention spans and slowing down. And I think that, so as you were talking, I was thinking about, I love using this phrase, like living your best life, because it's become very cliche. It's popular. But there's, what does it truly mean to live your best life?
Mm-hmm.
And something I've discovered is in the last year or two that living your best life is a devotional act. That's a daily thing.
You got a lot of quotables going on here. You got to write these down.
I know, it's so funny. I'm like, I'm getting content gold right now. I'll probably forget.
Yeah. It's recorded.
So it's like living your best life is a devotional, it's a journey. It's something that we commit to. It's not one single event in the future. When we're thinking about, manifesting and like living your best life is a daily thing. And for me, it's really about me embracing that no matter where I'm at. And within that, defining what our version of success is. So part of my version of success is feeling calm, is having a regulated nervous system, is feeling healthy and strong and vital in my body, and having things to look forward to in my life and feeling inspired about things that I'm working on. So it's like when you start to get those things and you tap into like, what is my version of success? If someone, for me, I started, the more I align with these values of mine and the way that I want to feel on a daily basis and how I want to live my life, that inherently, that requires me to be patient. I will say that is going against, I'm the first one to like want something very instant, and I'm the first one, but that I've just learned from life experience that, sometimes it does work like that, but sometimes it doesn't, especially when you're working against your true nature. It just ends up making things very inefficient. And I'll use that term because, I am a projector in human design. So for me, efficiency is really key because, I don't really have energy to waste. And so just noticed for myself and being a very impatient person. I think it's really something that I'm here to, as part of my journey to learn is patience. And so it's like the more I align with like, well, I want to feel calm and I want to feel grounded and I want to feel healthy. And I'm like, damn it. That means I have to be patient. and it's all beautiful and perfect. And that has, of course, that's one of the reasons I love NLP and just, so it's like, yeah, we could push, we could force, we could effort, we could pressure ourselves. I could do that. Could be super impatient, but either way is going to work. Either way is going to get you there. It just depends on how you want to feel along the journey.
Right. I think that you just touched on a huge point of like, it all does work. It's just a different flavor of it. I think that in the past, like more towards the beginning of like diving into self-discovery stuff and like just learning about modalities and stuff like that and finding ways to help myself feel better. I think I was approaching it with is this right or wrong for me? Not knowing I was doing that. Like, okay, is this going to be the thing? Is this the thing? Is this the thing? Is this the right choice? Is this the right choice? Like I was guessing. And really, what I know now to be true is that it really, really, really is no right or wrong. Like it's really like, where do you find your home in whatever you're doing? Like even like going to yoga class, going to, choosing to do this over that. It's all, I don't know. I think that I had unknowingly in my mind, subconscious, had made it like, okay, well, if I take this, I got a little too into the butterfly effect when I was growing up, that movie. And so I'm like, oh, if I make this choice, I could end up all the way over here. But really, it's like, how far can we stray from our thread? How far can we really stray from it if we're practicing intention? I don't know. I just feel like there's this threshold where we must always probably be within.
Yeah. That, it's like if you're always kind of tuning into yourself and checking in, you're never going to get too far.
Mm-hmm.
And, I feel like something that I've noticed is just like I'm in a consistent journey of coming home to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed I would be posting on like my Instagram stories and be like, oh, I'm in such a season of coming home. And then I realized I was like, I'm kind of doing that like once a week because I do feel like it is this journey of like, I think it's a constant, sway of like going. I feel like, you get kind of far from your center. You get
Yeah.
away from it
Yes.
through like an experience or a choice that you did make and the direction that you did go. But ultimately, everything I feel is bringing you back home because even in that experience, the contrast of that experience reminded you of what you don't want, or it opened up an opportunity to like heal something that you weren't aware of until you went into that experience. I'm thinking about personally, this experience with like, which I've mentioned to you a couple of times, where I was like in a really weird relationship dynamic. And it was just like really strange. It felt, even when I was in it, and I think a lot of women can really, really relate to this. Even when I was in it, I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, it just wasn't me and it didn't feel right. But still, I found myself in this dynamic because you can be the most empowered, most, grounded, awakened woman and still, find yourself in a weird, just want to say that, put that out there. You can still find yourself in a weird relationship dynamic. It happens. So anyway, just going through this, and eventually kind of had that pivotal moment where I was like, okay, like I gotta nip this in the bud. And it was a situation where I had to like block this person and like have never spoken to him again since. But after that experience, I was healing from that journey. I really, this experience of me coming back home to myself was like really coming back to that sense of wholeness. And I felt like I needed to go through that so that I could finally close the door or finish like that healing around like my self-worth. And I really needed that pivotal moment where I chose myself
Mm-hmm.
and, essentially shut the door on that. And like, I felt like, okay, like I'm done with that chapter. I'm done with that issue. I'm done. And so, you know, we're always through just living life, we're always having breakthroughs. If we're paying attention, you're already naturally having, breakthroughs all the time. We're always wiring and rewiring our subconscious mind. It's always happening. And just, bringing this back to the NLP conversation, it's like what we do in our sessions is just, we're intentionally doing it in the moment to create what we want. But, we're always it's already happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That contrast is huge for me, and I relate so deeply. Like I sometimes things can feel very gray when they're like, "Oh, is it a hell yes or not?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know." Like, but I know when something's a no. Like I can feel it very clearly if this has gone astray. So I find that I do really benefit from getting too close to the fire on stuff like that because it's so much more clear to me. Um, yeah, I mean, like also in my work, like I just really thrive off of like the extremes of like light and dark. And yeah, I think that that's just such it's so validating and it's so clarifying. And I think it's so comforting that even when everything goes to shit and you're like, wow, I really made the quote unquote wrong decision there. I know it, and you don't want to hear it at the time, especially, but like, it's never not serving you in some way. Like it's never not showing you something, even if it's like super hard and terrible, and it's always showing you something. I really hesitate to blanket statement any of that because I know there's so many heavy, traumatic, hard situations, but like I also feel that like everything shows something. You know, my one of my mentors and coaches, oh gosh, of course I forget who she said she heard it from, but someone that she had learned from said, if it could have been different, it would have been different. Like we're all doing the best with what we have at any given moment. And yeah, I don't know. There's something that's, even though it's not what I personally want to hear, I think that there's an element of peace that comes with that.
Totally. Totally. And it is like that, it's a choice. It's a choice to see things in that way. Because I do think about, I'm like, I don't really try and pretend like I understand why the universe does what it does or why things happen, because I don't understand necessarily why.
Yeah.
But the one thing I do have control over is who I want to be and how I want to live and feel. And so in that, it's like, yeah, I do choose to extract as much wisdom and use experiences to learn about myself and sort of and use them as tools to come home, to keep coming home.
So beautiful, Jerrica. You're gonna have to listen to this with paper and pen. Be like, here are all my quote cards for the next month.
Truly, this might be how I figure out how to create content more easily, because it's like it's all there.
Yeah, just keep coming back for fireside chats, and we'll just like plan out your whole calendar.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, to like wrap it with a bow, almost like coming back to NLP, like the power is in just choosing how you be, like how you want to feel and live through what the universe is throwing at you, and just life. And NLP offers us a way to look inside for more information, like, and make decisions about that. I love that instead of using the term blocks or, whatever, Haley Carr, she'll say interesting ideas, because really, like, if we want to really stand by the fact that like, it's not right or wrong, it's not good or bad, even though we can experience it as fucking terrible. Just like calling it that, just insisting that it's an interesting idea already gives you more power. You're already coming from it from a place of like, okay, it's more malleable, and then so that when we can uncover what's under that trap door of like what we're deciding unconsciously, and that we can realize, oh, I actually think this. Okay, is that resourceful to me or not? Not okay. What do I want to think? So it's just this really beautiful, simple way to understand what's running on the hard drive and decide, is that helping me or is that holding me back? And then moving on from there. And furthermore, just harnessing the power of how you want to move through your life. So this is, yeah. So
beautiful. Yeah.
Now, how can we get more Jerrica? Where do you show up online? Like, what are you up to? How can anyone listening find you?
Instagram is where I'm at. I am Jerrica Elizabeth. That's where I like to hang out. Mostly stories. Maybe I'll post more after I listen to this recording and write down my post. But I love Instagram stories. I keep things very human over there, which means I'm not 24/7, but I'm around. And I would love anybody who listens to this, I would love for them to reach out and say hello. Very human, like to actually chat to people I see on the internet. And yeah, I'm offering breakthrough sessions right now and getting ready to put together some one-on-one coaching packages to offer people who want to do a little bit more long-term work.
Awesome. I'll put all of Jerrica's links in the show notes, and I was about to say we hope to have you back. I'm sitting alone in my basement. I hope to have you. I'm a team of me.
Team Bianca.
Team Bianca. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so grateful for your presence in my life. I'm so happy we met. I'm so happy that I got to go on this journey alongside of you. And yeah, I hope that you come back again and we just chat about whatever's on top.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love this. And I love talking to you. And I just love how you really see the beauty. You see the beauty in life and you see the beauty in very simple things. And I love listening to you talk about that. And it has helped me, just the little things that you say has helped me see even more beauty, in my, yeah, yeah. And I notice it during our training too, just the way you talk and the way you see the world. It's beautiful lens to look through.
Thank you very much. Oh my gosh. I'm pausing before I start sniffling.